and welcome back to the Cocked Dice. In tonight's video I'm back again with some more Orky conversions. So I was flicking around my Orky miniatures the other day, and one of the things I really don't have is any of the Mek Gunz. Looking at the new codex reveals this week, they're actually still quite good, and I still think there's a place for them in the army. So I kind of wanted to correct the fact I didn't have any. So I've dug through my bits box and I found a bunch of loot, stuff, gubbins, leftovers. So we're essentially going to use part of the truck kit. So I've got I think this is the front of a truck from a previous conversion that I never finished. One of the boarding ladders. I've got some doors, some extra gubbins and panels. I grabbed a few bits from the wazbomb blasta jet that I had kicking around, because again I had one of those for undisclosed conversion purposes. Some plastic tubing, brass wire, there's more gubbins from looters by the look of it. A bomb, but I only actually want part of that bit. And then these kind of bits are just non-GW parts, terrible, isn't it? Some acrylic beads and a plastic wheel. That's got a specific purpose for later. As well as that, I've got a ready supply of plasticard or sheet styrene. I've got a bunch of nail bead things for rivets. And I've got some bits like this, some HO scale model railway parts. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them or not yet. I might just build myself something out of styrene. So the first job in tonight's conversion is going to be roughing up some of these non-GW parts. The reason we're going to do this is really just to take away some of the smoothness of this edge. Obviously this is a pen from the kids, so it's probably got all sorts of muck and grease on it. So a bit of an emery board over this. We'll just take away the top surface of it, give something for the undercoat primer to stick to, and just make sure it sticks to the model. I'm going to do the same on these beads, so it's just get the board, and just, it doesn't have to be long, just a quick rub across it, like so, and you can start feeling it, it's already getting a little bit rough. So I'm going to run these across the emery board. I'll be back in a minute. So the first thing we're going to do on tonight's build is put together the gun. Now, I ummed and ahed about what I was going to do about this, and I decided I wanted something that was a little nondescript, somewhere between a smasher gun and a custom mega cannon, because they're both kind of cool. So this is a piece from, I think it's from the wazbomb blasta jet. It sits on one of the wings with a thing on top of it, but kind of looking at that, it also looks a bit like some sort of weapon. We line up a couple of these gubbins here. Ooh. And a plastic tube. And I reckon that's starting to look like some sort of gun. Now obviously we've got some detailing to do on it. Add some bits and pieces here, cover over the ends, fit the tube properly, all that sort of stuff. But that, I think, could quite easily be custom mega cannon territory stroke smasher guns. So we're going to go with that. So first job is we need to make sure the tube's the right length. Now I want the tube to end pretty much at the back of this bit of plastic here. So just take the 3 bits like that, take a knife and just mark on the plastic with a knife or a pen where you want to cut. So with some super glue now, line it all up. It's nice and neat like that. And then we'll just take this out. There we go. Well, this piece isn't actually straight, I've just noticed. It's got a slight curve on one side, it's fine. You won't notice that once we stick all this together. Convincingly cool. Only other thing to do, or 2 things to do, is one, I'm going to stick the thing on the end of it, so that goes in here. Rub around, like so. And on the back end of it, just put some more super glue. And this is just a wheel from a cheap Matchbox style car. We'll just use that to cover over the tube whilst we get on with the rest of it. So we need to lift this up a little bit. Now the easiest way is to drop one of these underneath it, and that's literally a matter of just lining this up here. We can either stick it on directly, got some contact points, depends how big we want it to be. So need to take up some of this base, it looks to be about there. So there's that, that's just one. That's not great, is it? Need some more connections. So, bit of surgery. We're going to take these rivets off. Like so, I'm going to take a bit of this fuel tank connector off here. Cut through it. It's all underneath, so we're never going to see this. So, now I've got some space there. I can connect just about like that. No, that way around. So it's leaning down slightly. That should sit on there with it relatively straight. I'm trying to get the platform straight. So some glue on here. Then once it's had a few minutes to dry off, just check it from above, make sure it's broadly lined up across the centre. Obviously it's an Hulk vehicle, so if you want to put it off centre, put it off centre. It really doesn't matter much. So next thing we're going to do is we need to build something for some sort of scaffold, because the gun's going to sit here. So we need something to attach the gun to, so we can sort of pivot up and down a little bit. And then doors we're going to use either side as blast shields, and then we'll stick some gubbins on it, and it'll basically be done. So it's a pretty simple build, this one. Now you could just use some of this stuff, block of this, stick some holes in it, and that would do quite nicely to hold it up. I want something solid for this one, but I'm going to use this as a bit of a template. So I'll just line that up on here. Keep my knife and I'll just scribe along it here, and then this angle here, like so, and you can see we've got a kind of wedge shape, and then we'll just come down a couple on here. That's possibly too big, not that big. Scribe a line on there, and we'll flip it over. Make some. In fact, what I'll do, I'll cut this one out first, and then I'll get over. So styrene's dead easy. You should be able to do a couple of cuts on this, not particularly deep. Do like that. So I'm only just into it. You can't really see that on the screen, but you can just scribe into it a little deeply, and then snap it. Easy as that. That gives you a pretty good edge on styrene sheet. So I'll do the same on here. So we've got two fairly good matching pieces there. We're going to start to jazz them up a bit. So I'm going to get some, this is 1mm sheet styrene just in a strip. I generally always have a stock of random styrene shapes. We're simply going to mask some glue on the top here, stick the two bits together, and then when it's had a bit of time to dry, flip it upside down and just cut across the same diagonal. So whilst the other one's drying off, I'm just going to sort out this one now. Orky plates are rarely really square and nice. So first of all, we're just going to run our knife around the edge of the plate, try and level it off a little bit, round these corners off all the way around. The bottom one doesn't want to be rounded because it's going to be stuck down, so we'll just square that off by running a knife against the flat of the plastic. All the others, just round them off a little bit. Then we've got two options. We can either just batter the panel up a bit, or we can make this look like essentially weld lines. If you look at a lot of World War II tank modelling videos, they do something similar. Yeah, you can get tools to scrape this in, but just a plain old file will do, and you're just going to run side to side, build up a chunk of lines, like so. These are not weld lines, these are basically torch marks from badly cut steel. Give it a nice knackered effect. It goes deeper on some, shallower on others. We'll clean them up around the edges later. Obviously, unlike scale models, we're not looking for something that's perfectly in scale. We're looking for something that's bold enough to stick out and be paintable. That could be, we might take a chunk or two out then here as well, just to walk it a bit more, but all the way around. Do this all the way around and kind of make it look like it's been really badly blowtorched off something else. There you go, and that's the effect we get all the way around this piece. So I'll just crack on with the other one. I'm back in a minute. Now the gun's had a bit of time to dry, we're going to jazz this up a little bit. We will start with some more plastic strip, which is nice and square. And we've got a piece that runs to about there. Just like that. Drop across there, make a second piece, same length, line this up. So around about here, so on the pivot point of the gun to go. Line the 2 bits of plastic up, take your pin vise drill, pop it in the top, and we're just going to work into this. Go right the way through. Very difficult to do with the camera in the way. And now we've got 2 matching holes in these pieces. Now, I know these want to go on here. Start planning this out a little bit. These are both going to sit on here, with the gun in the centre of them. Over there, so do basically the same thing on these. Going to line them both up. Going to pick a point somewhere in the middle of this top piece. And about there, and we're going to go straight through. Now all these line up, that's a good start. This is the hardest bit. I'm going to try and get a hole. I need to line all these up so that the hole goes directly through the centre here. What I probably should have done is put all in it first. And essentially you want to make sure you get a hole right through the centre of that. And I'm going to string the 3 together, 4 pieces together, 5 pieces together, can't count. I'm going to string the 5 pieces together with a bit of brass wire, and that will give us a bit of a hinge for all this to sit on. So I'm going to stick these plates onto the rest of the truck now. Let's start getting this put together. So this is sheet styrene, so it will stick perfectly well with polystyrene cement. Now, to get all this lined up properly, we're going to get a bit of brass wire. We're going to clip it to round about the length that we need. Lower down from there, like so. Clip it off. And then because it's brass wire, I'm just going to file down this end here. Another emery board. That just neatens up the ends and makes it look much cleaner. And now the absolutely terrifying bit, we'll stick all this together. I really hope this all fits and lines up. It's just off, but handily we're doing this before we glue it all together. First fitting, and looking at it from the top, we are pretty straight all the way up there. So now would be a good time, if you needed to, we'll be nudging these panels around before they really stick tightly. So we'll come forward a little bit. That should be a bit better. And then we'll get some glue. Once this has had a bit of time to dry around the bottom, we'll get some glue in there and sort it out. Now, as you can see on these, I should point this out. You might be able to see on these, we've got we've got a big flat panel here. It's not particularly well attached. This is 1.5mm styrene, and it's not very thick. Orky vehicles are generally built out of bigger stuff, so we're going to use some glyph plates. So you grab a glyph plate, and we'll stick some glue down the base here. So glue on the back of it. Like so. Just slap that on there. That will just help reinforce this bottom piece, as well as making it a bit more orky. And that'll just help solidify this and make it a little stronger. We're going to do some work to make sure this sticks on as well in a minute. But for now, this just needs to have a little bit of time to dry off, and we'll do some jiggly pokery on the back. So we need something to power it. We've got some fuel, we've got some other gubbins, small gubbins, and a rocket. Why have I got a rocket? I'm sure you'll ask. I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you now. So we're going to do a few tweaks on this. First of all, let's take the rocket tail off. We don't need that bit. So just trim that straight down on each of the sides. And then we can just clean this up just by running a knife down, trimming it off and maintaining the curve around the bottom. You're not going to see most of this, so you don't need to worry about it too much. And then on the top of it, we don't need the rocket end, so we're just going to cut that off. like so. Chuck that in your bits box, clean this top up, and this essentially is going to stand in as a bit of a hydraulic piston. We need something to power the piston. For that we've got a bit of an engine, we've got a fuel canister, and yeah, some of this maybe, don't know, some other gubbins. We'll chuck it all together in a minute. So the gun is going to sit back here somewhere, so we want the piston to sit at the side of it here, attached to the gun somehow, maybe like so. Doesn't have to be perfect, but essentially it's some sort of hydraulics to push the gun up and down. Helps them with their aiming. I'll actually do this one straight right at the back here. So that controls the gun height. That will also help the gun with a bit of stability. We need to build an engine block to go on here now. These are from one of the truck kits. They're supposed to stick on the sides somewhere, and obviously they're empty at the back, and that's going to be really visible. Now we could just hide it under a door. It's one of the options. Put the door on there, hide it behind there, but you'll still be able to see part of it. So what we're going to do is quickly cover this up with a bit of plasticard. There's my handy bit of plasticard. We'll just stick it down on some very quickly, give it a few minutes to dry. Stick it down so the levelish bit of this plasticard is on that side. So now this had a bit of time to dry, we're just going to cut it off very roughly first of all. It doesn't need to be neat. And we're literally just going to cut round the engine block. You could wait for this to fully dry off and then properly sand it back together so it's a single piece. But I think most of this will be quite well hidden, and we can always cover it with a bit of gubbins if we need to. Now I know I don't want the door on here, so we'll get that stuck on next. Use this piece to cover up some of these holes. Just drop it on there somewhere like that. Things you notice in hindsight. That's going pretty well. I was going to add another door on this side. I'm not sure if I will. I might leave it open platform for the grots. And to help hide some of these plates, we're just going to grab some random plasticard. Make something that's about that big. Let's hide those holes. There we go. That'll do nicely. Cover this up. Cover up this area here. I think I'm feeling like, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to cover up this front piece. So look at the front of this. You've got this big empty space down here. We want some sort of shield covering on it. I've used a spiked ram on one of my other ones I built as a test run, so we'll do something similar, but I'll just scratch build them. So we'll run a piece of styrene strip across here, we'll stick it up there somewhere like that. So it wants to be about that long. So I'll just cut it a bit longer, like so. There we go. And we get another piece of styrene. We'll square this up a little bit first, and then same as before, take your knife, go all the way around it. Let's muck it up a bit. You could rough it up like we have on the side of the gun if you wanted to. It's getting late. I want to get this truck finished. Like that. We'll grab a piece to go across the centre of it. So just grab whatever your leftovers are, bung a piece in the middle. Try and leave a fairly even space either side of it. Bung a plate on it here. Like so. Mess these teeth up as well. And we'll bung them on the sides. So the final thing to do on this tonight is just to make this a bit more orky and interesting. We're going to add some rivets to it. So pin vise drill, fairly small pinhole piece, and we're just going to drill a bunch of holes in this where we want the rivets to go. So I'd suggest in the corners of this piece here. Apologies, my hand's in the way. I can't really do this on camera. Yeah, so essentially 4 holes here, probably a hole there, maybe a hole on either side here. Something like that. When I say holes, I literally mean just indents, so don't go too far into this. I figured out what was wrong with my pin vise drill. Might be slipping everywhere, so just a few twists. That should do nicely. Then the fun bit, you want some super glue on something you don't care about. You want an old paper clip, and you want your little jar of do-freeze. These, now I want, I think, this middle and the small ones, so bit of super glue in the hole. So use the same thing, just to grab one of your little jewellery things and drop it in the pre-drilled holes. There we go. See, instant riveting. Just get that glued onto the front of the smasher gun. So get glue around here and there. That'll just cover up that nasty join and kind of openish space there. So there we have it. One Mek gun, smasher gun, grot guns? No, they're smasher guns, aren't they? Oh, I'll add some rivets to that in a minute. But yeah, it wants riveting down. That's a 2-second job. You can add other rivets to it. You can add some more detail, but I think, to be honest, this is going to do. It's got enough detail on it that I think it'll hide away any of the kind of rough bits. It's got some interesting bits here and there. I've got some space to put some grots on it, so I'll build some grot crew for it later. Get these last few bits tidied up on these, and then I'll get them out to the garage, get them sprayed up, and if you hang around for a moment, you can see them all painted up with crew and everything. See you in a minute. Thanks for watching. And thanks for joining us here at the Clock Dice. Why not like this video and add a comment below? It really helps boost the channel. And while you're at it, if you click on the icon below, you can subscribe to the channel for all the latest updates as soon as they're live. Why not check out some of our other videos and playlists? You can click on the ones on screen right now. Take care, and we'll see you next time.